a second-hand coat. I want a yacht, not a cheap little boat. I tell my daddy not to be depressed. All I need for happiness is the best. I want a diamond, nothing else has appeal. And when it comes to men, you know how I feel. I want a real man. Give me a real man, you know what I mean. I want a real man. Oh, real man, you're what I need.
Dwayne, how are you, buddy? It's great to see you. Hey, what's up? Welcome to Real Men. I'm your host, Tim Steeves. We have an excellent panel of all-star yackers, so let's introduce them now. Today, we're serving up the Tim Rykert. How are you, Tim?
Served rare, medium.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
Also, Ted Dykstra is with us. Good to see you, Teddy.
Always nice to be here.
Stroking the beard, ready for some intellectual conversation from Teddy Dykstra. Yep. Krista Sutton is also with us. Hi, Krista.
Hello, Tim.
Nice to see Krista.
How are you?
You're fired up. I can tell. Dwayne Hill is here as well. Hey, Dwayne.
Hey, buddy. Great bum.
Good to see you, pal. I don't know what that's in reference to, but we're going to get this show started with that very same Dwayne Hill. Go ahead, man.
All right. Today, we're going to talk about a very serious subject. They've given me a serious one. Great. Coping with job loss. Now, I'll bet when they gave me that topic, they didn't realize before I got into acting, that I'd lost over 50 jobs. I have. I've worked at every single job on the planet and lost every one of those jobs. A lot of people who are like fatter, uglier, and stupider than me have fired me. Yeah, Dwayne, it ain't working out. What? You can't fire me. Do you want me to show you the security video? There's a security video? Well, then I'll leave. Fine. Why do you always eat it after you pick it? Look, I said I'm leaving. And ghoul. And then one time I got this job at an ad agency, which was great. Because, you know, there's people that kind of, you know, bull-puck their way through life. And I'm one of them. And some people have these spidey senses tingling. I sense a jerk. And this woman was like, Dwayne? Yes? I noticed you've been chasing a ball of twine around the office for the last few hours. It's part of a project I'm working on, a still life. Would you do me a favor and write down all the jobs you've had? Okay, but I don't know what you're saying too. Alphabetically? So what I'm trying to say is I've gone through it, and it gets better. And there's always something better, unless, of course, you're a schmendrick and you know who you are. In which case, fake an injury. Tim?
Thanks, Dwayne. Oh. Grab some couch, big guy. Good job. Dwayne has set the table skillfully on the topic of coping with job loss. Krista, have you, like Dwayne, have you got a lot of experience with going through the jobs, the temporary gigs?
Oh, my goodness. Well, yeah, because that's what we do constantly in this business. It's all about getting a job and then not having a job and then getting a job. But I think in terms of for guys, I've seen it happen with close guy friends of mine. It really hits you right in the gonads in terms of how you see yourself as a guy, as a man. And
yeah, a lot of guys define themselves by what their work is.
I actually lost a job once. I was a bartender, and very popular bartender. You know, flipped bottles and breathed fire and sprayed silly string and stuff like that. I had the greatest time of my life. Like, you know, honestly, if you flip a bottle, you break it, you go, I'm drunk. And a new guy bought the company, and he basically went, I don't like that guy. I don't think I'd like me either, you know, in all fairness. Like, if I was a boss, I'd be like, who is he? He's your clone, sir. Well, he's an ass. And they fired me, and it killed me, because I literally, every day of the week, I'd have all these people going, Dwayne, you're the best. And then it was like, crickets. Shut up, you crickets. I can hear what you're saying. It's not Dwayne's the best. Dwayne sucks.
Everyone, Dwayne, you're the best.
You're the best.
Oh, you're the best, Dwayne.
Took your time, didn't you?
Yes.
You haven't lost this job yet.
Yet.
You're doing well.
Yes.
You're doing
I used to have
very
a
well.
roommate who would, just the worst, he would lose a job every month, and we'd always have to help him, like, find work, go through the paper, and send him out on interviews in the morning, because we wanted him to pay his rent, right? So one day, he was unemployed for, like, ever.
But
And I was like, why can't this guy get a job? So one day he comes home and he's got a bunch of applications that he's filled out he's going to take back in the next day. And I'm like, let me see your application. I'm looking through his application. And it's generally normal. He's filled out all his information. And then it gets to a part where it's like, reason for leaving last job. And he put fired for calling in sick too much. on his reason for leaving last job, and I'm like, do you know that's not, like, you lie for that one. That's where you lie. And he goes, I just figured they'd appreciate the honesty. I'm like, no, that's not where
the last employer would have appreciated the honesty on the sickness thing. That would have been where the
dishonesty. That's the way you got to do it. That's why, when I was talking about faking an injury, my friend just did that. He's like, he's close to getting fired, and he's like, my back. Oh, no, I'll wet myself. You move me. Oh.
Teddy Mulligan, jump in here, buddy.
The only time I ever lost a job was when I was 17 and I was a telephone operator, which is a lot of fun because you go operator and you hear fag and they hang up.
Yeah.
This was like in the late 70s.
How did they know you were on
video
the
phone?
No, because you're the only guy, right? So anytime I talked to a customer and I got them mad, they would call the supervisor and they said I was talking to a guy and I was the only guy, so I was dead every time I said anything to anybody. And I hated my job so much that I took a break. And we were up high in a building, and so you took the elevator, and I pushed stop on the elevator, and I sort of jammed it and made it stop. So there was a big emergency, and I was stuck in the elevator for 2 hours, and everyone was all worried about me and everything. And I was just like, oh, yeah, and I just laid on the elevator floor. But the reason I got fired was...
crazy. That's why you got fired.
2 weeks later, I did it again.
Okay, no, like you can't repeat that kind of...
That's when it sort of twigged that I'd done it. I said, no, it's happened twice. I said, come on. They said, that elevator has never stopped. This building's been here for 40 years. The elevator has never stopped. It stopped once when you were on it. Now it stopped again, and you were on it again.
So wait, look at the moral of the story that we're going at here.
Find a job you like.
Well, find a job you like, but we're getting fired because we're doing really stupid things.
Yeah, we're
at our
doing
work.
a job.
Find a job you
deserve
like.
it.
I want to be king of Persia. Is that possible? Is there an application I can fill out? Well, I can't even read the language. I'll just sign here and
Anybody
hopefully...
speak Farsi?
But it is, I guess it's a pretty serious problem on the other end of the spectrum for not locking yourself in an elevator.
Especially...
Oh, it's a whole serious thing, and we always take things seriously here in Real Men. We're taking a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk vasectomy. We're going to talk vasectomies. Vasectomies when we come back with Dr. Brian Goldman from Mount Sinai. He's going to join us, give us a little legitimacy here on Real Men. We're talking vasectomies when we come back. Hey, how are you? Welcome back to the show. This segment, we're talking vasectomies. Dr. Brian Goldman has joined us. Thanks for coming in, Doc.
Pleasure to be here.
Nice to see you again. We're going to get the segment started with Krista Sutton. So go ahead, Krista.
Snip, snip, snip. You know, if you loved me, you did it. You would do it. You would do it for me. Now, I have a cat, a little kitten, actually. He's 3 months old, and how do I break it to him that in 3 more months, it's all over? I mean, he's looking at me. I think he knows something's up. He's looking at me with these knowing eyes. But in 3 more months, no more spraying, no more humping the scratching post, no more dreams of little tiny female kittens. It's all over. Now, is your girlfriend or wife asking you to do this for? It's really her idea, isn't it? You know it is. It's her idea to get the old snip, snip. Because as Bob Barker says, have all your pets spayed and neutered. Tim?
Thanks, Krista. I hope we're not talking neutering here, are we, Doc? Is there there must be some differential between getting neutered and having a vasectomy. Tell me there is.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Great monologue.
Oh, yeah.
However, there is a huge...
That was great, though, Krista.
There is a huge difference. In the case of the cat, they are, in fact, cutting out the little huevos.
Right.
I know the little powder puffs.
That's right.
Oh,
and
very
in
cute.
fact, the little kitties...
Who's?
They look like little powder puffs.
The testicles. They're taking in boy cats. They're taking their testicles out. They're not doing a vasectomy.
Like what Dwayne had done.
I know, but the principle behind it is kind of the same.
What?
You don't want them scratching at the door trying to get out to...
No, but that's the whole point, and that's what you guys need to know. Because a lot of guys are worried about getting a vasectomy because they're afraid that their sex life is going to go out the window, that their sex drive is going to be gone. You don't lose your testicles, therefore you don't lose testosterone. Therefore, sex drive is intact. Whereas with kitty cat will lose his testicles, loses testosterone, will stop humping female cats, and will stop spraying and doing all the male territorial things that cats do.
Let's start doing a lot of knitting and...
They do knitting.
Like a complacent lifestyle.
They start, they start doing Martha Stewart things.
Doc, I can't help but notice you got some props there. Are you going to
right.
take us through the procedure a little bit?
I thought I would take us through shall we call this a fruity vasectomy?
I can't believe I can't
So would you like to help me? Okay.
I can't believe I spent something... I spent 5 hours in molding clay, and it looks like this.
You obviously look very experienced now. I
Yeah.
like you.
Krista,
I need somebody else to hold up the
Oh, I'll do that too.
the organ. Vasectomy.
Are men usually erect when they're getting this done?
Dangerous curve.
Not for long.
And bent like that, too.
You never know. You never know when Willie's going to take a turn for the worse.
What would that be called?
So,
Penis?
anyway, basically what we have here is an uncircumcised banana. And you have here 2 testicles, and
Hello.
as you can see, you have vas deferens, which is the cord that carries sperm from the testicles to the penis. And the whole idea behind a vasectomy is to stop that connection. So basically, what you do
Oh, God, no.
is
Oh.
done as an outpatient office
so glad you
procedure,
feel
takes
our pain.
15 to 30
Office
minutes.
procedure.
Office.
Just
it can
on
be
the
done
other-
in an office.
Just on the other side of your desk.
Absolutely. Just step into my
There's
office.
a picture of your kids, and here go the nachos.
That's right. So shave, clean,
Oh.
local anesthetic,
Oh.
and now you think that it's going to be one snip.
Honey, I want to have another kid.
The problem with one,
With your brother.
we'll talk about reversibility later, but the problem with one snip is that sometimes those 2 little critters can actually grow back together.
Oh, God, no.
So what
We're
they
extremely
actually
resilient.
do is 2 snips.
Have you slept through this?
One here and one here. So that
You actually
increases-
take out a little piece?
take out a little piece, and that increases the distance that the vas would have to grow in.
Keep the
And then what they
penis-
do
keep the
here
penis
is
with the
doesn't go
balls,
away.
Krista. Keep the penis with the
doesn't
balls,
go
Krista.
away.
penis doesn't just float away. No,
No.
it stays attached by
Come
other
on.
structures.
Stay in the moment,
And then
Krista.
we got to stay in the moment. What they do is they tie off each end as well.
Right.
And that prevents the flow of sperm. And basically,
kind of an
sew up the incision. Lots of ice packs.
Where does the sperm go, then? It's got to go somewhere.
Good question.
Let's talk ejaculation.
Okay, let's talk ejaculation. When can you start having sex after a vasectomy?
Right away.
You're the doctor.
Not at
Yeah,
all.
ask
No, you got to wait 1 or 2 weeks because there's a sperm duct,
Krista,
which is
what are
like
you
a little
doing?
reservoir.
I want to know, doctor.
Krista, come on.
I'm trying to tell you,
You
I'm
ate
on
the
your
penis
side.
again.
I'm on
Every
your
time
side, and
with
you're
this.
wrecking my act.
Next on Krista Ate the Penis Again. Krista's Christmas party goes awry.
Carry on. I was
Bob
just...
it.
Okay, go ahead, Doc. Sorry.
She's bobbiting that.
Let's
that-
talk ejaculation now
Okay,
that
so
Krista's
the
got
point
the
is
penis
that
in
one
her mouth.
bite.
No, it's really important. You can't have sex for 1 or 2 weeks because some sperm has been stored in something called a sperm duct, and basically it's like a reservoir.
It's quiet out
and
there.
You have to ejaculate something like 15 to 20 times to get rid of that reservoir because you can still theoretically
done
get
that.
pregnant.
So you can have sex, you just can't have unsafe sex afterwards.
That's right.
But you
And-
can have sex the day you get home from the doctor?
Well, you shouldn't. You shouldn't.
It probably feels a lot like being bagged.
If
wouldn't
you're
it?
doing this so that you don't, so that you're creating a 0 chance of being pregnant, of getting pregnant, then what you have to do is go back to the doctor's office and have a semen test to make sure you have no sperm.
Is that the
Then
only
you can
reason
do it.
guys are doing this? Because they're
No, some guys just do it because they want to.
they just
for
don't want
fun.
to have. No, but
There's
are
two-
they, is the only reason to do it for not to have kids, obviously.
Well, not to have kids because you've completed your family, or not to have kids because
your
you've got
banana.
some gene, you've got a genetic disease, and you don't want to pass it on to your children. So those are the reasons why people do it. And occasionally you'll have a young guy who's never had kids, 25 or 30, coming to a doctor's office and saying, I'd like a vasectomy. And in that case, the doctor's a little bit more concerned that the guy might change his mind later on.
Speak to the
And is it-
female
speaking of-
operation versus the male operation.
You want to
Real
talk about
quick.
the difference?
Just really quick before we go to break.
Snip, snip. Tubal ligation, which is the female operation, that ties off the fallopian tubes so that the egg can't pass down to where it can meet the sperm. And
That's a bigger tube, I would assume.
That's a bigger tube versus the vasectomy. The difference between the two, tubal ligation is a hospital procedure. You might have to spend a night or two in hospital, and it takes...
Just because they're women and they're more wimpy? And...
No, because it's a more invasive procedure. It might involve a telescope called a laparoscope or even an open operation.
We're very complicated.
And more risk of complications.
More risk of
obviously.
complications, including tubal pregnancy, because if the tube opens up again and a little sperm is able to get through, then if the woman does become pregnant, her chances of having a tubal pregnancy are much
But
higher.
the big sperms can't get in.
But the point is that this is a much more onerous. I mean, it's a
10
fairly
seconds,
easy
Doc.
procedure, but it's much more onerous than having a vasectomy, and yet
Right.
more women have tubal ligations than men have vasectomies.
Well,
And more men
that's all the
reverse
time
it.
we have at the segment. Stay with us, Doctor. When we come back, we're going to talk corporal punishment. Should you spank the kids? After this.
Not bad.
What do you think about corporal punishment? You spank the kids? What do you think?
Yeah, kids need to be spanked. I was spanked as a kid when I was bad, You don't mess around with what mom and dad say when you live under their roof. So You know, you break the window, you're going to get a spanking.
Welcome back to Real Men. We've been talking vasectomies today. We're joined by Dr. Goldman, and he performed a vasectomy on 2 oranges and a banana, which is very fussy procedure.
And it was quite yummy.
And they've already had a baby pomegranate. So, Doc, explain this reversal process.
This segment, however, we're going to move on. We're talking corporal punishment. Should you spank your children? And Ted, you're a new father. What are your politics on the subject, buddy?
Well, I spank my four-month-old when he cries, just because it's really annoying.
Then he cries more, and I spank him more, and he cries more, and it's like...
It's not working. You know what? I probably will spank my child at some point if I feel it's necessary, and I think it's my business if I do. And I'm sort of really don't like all this backlash about don't ever touch your child.
I'm surprised to hear that from you, Ted. You think you know a guy.
My dad would routinely spank me, and I don't know. Okay, good.
But I bet you wouldn't do it in public.
No, of course not. He wouldn't.
No. Two schools of...
What's your point by that, Doctor?
My point is that whatever you believe in your heart of hearts and whatever you do in your own home, you won't do it in public today because somebody's going to call the police.
Absolutely, you lose your child.
Absolutely.
Which is ridiculous.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
So, how do you feel about the spanking issue, Doc?
I think in general, I don't believe in spanking. You know why? Because I think 99 times out of 100, when you're about to raise a hand to your kid, it's because you're angry. And when you're angry, that's not a good time to discipline your child. That's the moment when you act.
That's the perfect time to discipline your child. You've got all the juices flowing. It's like,
This time,
went better.
You're getting it for everyone. The guy who cut me off.
But what do you say? Daddy's in a great mood today. Whack, whack, whack. Is you save it till you're in a really good mood and confuse the hell out of a
That's
kid.
even more
one
sociopathic.
at a time.
That's my point. My point is
Daddy's
that if
happy,
you're doing
he's
it,
gonna hit me.
if you're doing it because you're angry, then that's not the reason to do it.
Do you take a timeout, Doc? Is it the new timeout generation?
I don't know how well timeouts work.
You know what? What if the kid wants
but you
to
think a
just
good
touch
planned
the stove?
spanking is okay then? Like a good planned...
You know what?
Next week?
Premeditated spanking.
Premeditated. Well,
Yeah, when they're all calm, it is kind of strange to be like, you know,
It's like
not very, and it's always rhythm.
What's wrong with the child knowing that the child has made you angry? What's like?
then say it. Then say it.
I'm really angry.
Then say it. I'm really angry,
Yeah,
or
but
I'm
you know,
really
you see these
disappointed. And that
parents
kind of
so-
stuff.
you anyway. I'm leaving.
Sometimes
You
daddy,
bet on
sometimes daddy,
daddy.
blah blah blah. It's just a little. It's a kid. He doesn't give a rat's ass what your point of view is.
I mean, obviously it's how it's done. Like, I still tease my mom to this day about her rhythmic, don't you ever do that. A word on each again.
So how do you feel about it?
I don't know if I'm the better for it, but I'm not scarred by it. I don't necessarily think I'm going to do that to my child, but I think we're going overboard. I mean, I don't want paddles in the schools and teachers to be able to hit my kid.
From my childhood,
time.
Doctor, from my childhood, I don't remember any time. I know that my father spanked me, but I don't remember any of that. What left me a little screwed up more, if there was such a thing happened, was the screaming. That can take more of a toll, I think.
Right on.
than
I agree with
spanking.
you. I think that screaming can be far more abusive than physical punishment. I'm not saying that it's either you scream or you spank. I'm just saying that if you're losing control,
You're saying-
and this is an
Yeah.
outlet for losing control, then that's a recipe for
A
disaster.
combination of the two is almost perfect then. Is that what you're saying, Doc? You rage zone!
Dwayne, did you get spanked, Dwayne?
I got hit a couple of times as a kid. I probably should have been hit more. Let's face it.
Yeah.
My problem
Should
with
have been
my
spanked
problem
on
with
this
the whole
show by now.
My mother, I was yesterday. My mother, she was not very hard on me in that sense. She was always allowed me my freedom, but she actually opened the first hostel for battered women and children in Mississauga, and it was very interesting seeing these battered families, battered wife syndrome. And the problem with spanking your kids is half the time it creates these terrors, and half the time it creates the most polite, wonderful children.
And you don't know
Like,
which.
I know
You don't
guys,
which.
exactly. But I mean, I had a friend. I'm like, hey, you want some frozen peas? He's like, no, I don't eat frozen peas. I'm like, why don't you eat frozen peas? Like, well, my dad used to hit me with bags of frozen peas. I'm like, really? You're the nicest guy I ever met in my life.
Oh,
and because he got walloped so much as a kid, he was like, no, thank you. Yes, please.
See, you
it
know,
could
if
have been
it means,
shiner, you know.
if it
And
means eradicating all forms of abusive hitting, to take away, I guess, what some of us would say was just kind of harmless. You know, you see female cats giving their little babies a swat.
Absolutely.
But if it means eradicating all the abusive hitting, then fine. Let's say that there should be no spanking.
No,
in
you
society.
can't.
You know when I might do it? I'll tell you when I might
Hold
do it.
on, get Doctor in here.
If my daughter were running off the curb onto the road, and I said, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, and she kept doing it, Yeah, I might.
That's
once.
right.
Exactly.
I might just give her one tap on the bum, just as for shock value to get her attention, not intended to hurt her, not intended to cause damage, but
So
just
she
to
doesn't
say,
get the big tap on her bum from the truck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right,
Be a
let's
bunch of bigger-
jump out and sell some stuff. After this break, we'll come back. We're
you
talking
can't find the water
spankings,
now.
corporal punishment with Dr. Brian Goldman today on Real Men. Where men get real. Yeah, I got the big ass spanking when I played with the Tide once. Welcome back to the show. We've been talking about corporal punishment. Do you spank the children? Timmy Rykert, what were you going to say, man?
I think it's, you know, you're going to get hit at some point in life. Everybody gets hit somewhere along the line. Even girls get hit somewhere by another girl. So I just think it's better to learn that first lesson of if you piss people off, you're going to get hurt from the love of a mother's arm over the biker in the alley when you're 16 and you're a little because you never got hit in your life, you know. Screw you! Ow! What the hell? No one's ever done that before. You know.
It's an interesting
You're
take.
awfully vicious for a biker.
Mom's gonna take just a little off that because she loves you at the last second. She's gonna, thank you.
I'll just glance it off your kidney. Ooh, I felt that, Mom.
I do have trouble reconciling, though, you know, the fact that I was spanked, not a lot, but I was spanked, and that I don't feel any hatred or
Nothing.
sadness
Me too.
about
Same
it.
thing exactly.
So
I don't
had
remember
to-
any pain at all because it wasn't that kind of pain.
Yeah,
It's
and
a-
I
it
have
wasn't
great.
psychological.
I agree, and it's a strange thing, but I think kids are more screwed up than ever, and probably there's
Maybe.
less corporal punishment going on than ever before. So obviously that's not the whole thing.
So folks at home, hit your kids.
You got to find a way to
Wake
show
them
that you
up.
care. Part of disciplining your child says, I care enough about teaching you right from wrong. And I think a lot of kids these days are just walking around wondering whether their parents really care about
Oh,
them
yeah,
or not.
Yeah,
These
they're getting
schools where it's like-
desensitized with the video games and movies, not because they're getting a spanking.
But the
No, and on the other- and on the
schools
other
are
hand-
lawless too,
We-
right?
there was way more-
You can't do anything to a child.
I've
now.
got
You
Dwayne's
can't-
dander
You
up
can't
to
tell
the
a
movies
child
and
something in
video.
a class. You can't.
I'm
you
afraid
can't
we're
give
out of
them any
time.
Detention. You
Summarily
can't-
Smear the banana
Quickly,
on the
Dwayne,
wall.
10
It's a
seconds,
tax
Dwayne.
service.
Summarily execute one child a day. No one will
Oh,
screw around
I can't believe
again.
I gave
One
Dwayne.
child
Why would I
for
give Dwayne the last word? That's all the time we have on Real Men. Thanks for coming in. We're out. Can't believe I gave Dwayne the last word.
Walked around with corpse, headless corpse.
Okay, 10 more seconds. 10 more seconds. 10 more. Okay, 10 seconds. Go on the 10 seconds.
We're not going to shoot you. Thank God. We're going to electrocute you. All the shit burning.
Anybody here got the strap? Yeah.
I got the strap.
I got the strap.
I got the strap. Summarily execute one child a day. Okay, whatever the box, like, what are you doing? You know what it is?